back in Orin. We're on a little bit of a break, do this and other things, but we're back and got Sam Sawyer with me,
Hey, hey.
and Irene's here.
Yo.
Yep, and we're going to talk about the next stuff of the week. I guess 2 weeks. So yeah, I guess we're going to jump right into Gundam, and I guess Sam, you want to take it away with episode 6?
Gladly. So, we're talking about episode 6 first, and episode 6 is the cooldown shot. We just finished fighting off Galahorn, so before the next big fight, you gotta cool down, you gotta figure out where do characters stand, maybe some characters are gonna get promotion to new jobs, and we're just gonna see how does everyone feel about life, the universe, and everything. So, I think the first off and the most interesting thing that's going on is what's happening with Mika's character. Because Mika has decided that he's going to want to learn to read, he's going to want to learn to write. And before I say anything else, I just find it really interesting that they're learning to write in English, which is kind of funny since this is an anime.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Though, if you've noticed, they've actually been consistently using English almost throughout the show. Like, all the, really heavy text has been in English. Mm-hmm. Everything they've written down has been English. The only thing, well, it does sort of make sense since the country that founded their colony that they all live in is what was Canada and Russia.
Yeah.
So I guess if you mix them together, English would probably be the higher language of the two, and so I guess almost everybody speaks English now.
I mean, I thought for a thing that maybe this is actually Sunrise's attempt to appeal to the international audience more. Is there a chance that they actually redrew this scene so they were doing it in English for an American audience?
I don't think so, because then it would be weird, them having to retranslate it again. If you mean them just translating it as an afterthought.
I'm just wondering if maybe this is a localization effort or this is just how they are running the show.
It could be. I mean, especially after Chicago.
From my experiences from the past stuff, they've done the same thing where if a text document is seen, it's usually in English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think also because a lot of their characters are more international based.
Mm-hmm.
So, because whatever world Gundam usually operates in, it's usually a world where a lot of the world conglomerations have kind of gotten together and, formed like a huge entity, like a federation or Earth forces or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to have some sort of universal language, and unfortunately, majority of the world doesn't speak Japanese, so I guess it wouldn't be very believable.
Right. Realistically, English is the number one everywhere, most countries. So I guess they're going with that. That and the races. There's usually not just Asian guys running around in the Gundam universe. The way they design them anyway. There's a lot of blondes.
Don't think about it.
I mean, who you bring that up, but is there anyone in the show that looks like they are originated from Japan? Maybe you could push for Fumitan, but aside from that, I can't really think of anybody.
Right.
But
everybody seems like a mixture of things. Mika himself has a Japanese first name, but his last name is August, which is not Japanese at all. So it's everybody's mixed now. And I mean, considering one of their most famous characters, Char, is pretty much European based, they've just kind of mixed them together, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. But getting
back,
back,
that's how you know.
Yeah.
I don't understand it about Japan. They think everybody from the West is blonde.
We're all like McGillis. We're blonde with blue eyes. Anyway, so going back to the episode. Oh yeah, one of the funniest things that they put down is that there are 72 Gundams in the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird demonology thing where that's a reference to the Lesser Key of Solomon, where there's basically supposed to be 72 demons that King Solomon from Jerusalem could control with a magic ring, which is okay. So I'm assuming there has to be
a show that was like that. I just can't remember what show that was. It was out it was a few seasons ago.
there's a lot of different shows that like to use that just because it's public domain mythology, so any kind of show can adapt that as their kick. Like, I don't know, what's that? It's some really lame Fujoshi show, Makai Tensho? No, that's not it. I'm not remembering the name, and I don't think I even watched it, so why am I bringing this up? I don't know. Anyway, so there are 72 other Gundams. What's the over-under on actually seeing 72 other or 71 other Gundams?
Far highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. I know we're gonna see at least 2 more. They've revealed at least 2 of them.
But think of all the model kits you can
In the
sell.
background.
The only series I've seen do multiple mobile suits like that are Gundams is Build Fighters. So they have that connected universe. You can have any
Yeah, but think
Gundam versus any other Gundam.
of all the model kits you can sell with 72 original Gundams.
They would have to think of a way to show them all, and I don't think they have enough time to show them all, like, at least with purpose, unless they're, like, just in the background or in a book or something.
Or a one-shot Gundam that pops up, but gets blown up.
And also, you gotta remember that they built these originally, like, 300 years ago,
Mhm.
so I'm betting some of them are destroyed or got dismantled or got blown up in fights. I mean, you can't expect all 72 to have lasted, even through the Calamity Wars themselves.
Yeah, I expect them to find parts because the tagline for this gun that we have now is supposed to be he can integrate other pieces from other suits into his own suit. So eventually, if you lose an arm, he can get a new arm to replace it, and it works perfectly fine. So
Yeah.
I haven't really done that yet. So if anything, they might end up doing that. I can see that.
Well, I mean,
Maybe
we
seen an arm or a
occasionally,
leg of a Gundam from the past.
yeah, I mean, we do see like the Barbatos, which is one of the
Right.
names of the demons from this Lesser Kiyosaman. Like you see it like when it first showed up, it didn't have like a laser rifle, but in later space fights, it does have a laser rifle.
Right, yeah. That's
So maybe that's like their kind of way of showing like the including parts from other Gundams that it beats up.
That's true.
Yeah. So also one of my favorite like character interactions of episode 6 was Kudelia. She's talking a bit about like the history of Mars and Earth and like how the conglomerates were separating Earth. And she had this really interesting line where it's she's saying, "I'm fighting for Martian independence so that the people can be happy." And then Mika responds with, "Oh, so you're the one who's going to make us happy." But he's like doing it in that really skeptical way of his. And that just says so much about like how this thing is going. Kudelia has her fight. Kudelia has her goal. She's like, I want to make things better. I want to make people happy. But Mika, he's like, it's not that he's not buying it, but it's more like he sees it as Kudelia's fighting for him, but he never asked for anyone to fight for him.
I did like the interactions between Kudelia and Mika this episode, because, like you said earlier, that this is the episode Mika decides, because she offers that, to teach him how to read and write. And I think Mika is probably the most non-educated Gundam protagonist in the history of Gundam.
right. Yeah.
So,
Well, most of them are like Amuro is a whiz kid of technology, and this kid can't even read.
yeah,
It's
so
a big
like,
dichotomy right there.
Yeah, he's trying to he wants to learn, but he's just never taken the time out to learn. I guess there's just never been time, because I mean, Orga has shown that he knows how to read and write. So I'm guessing Mika just never took the time to do it, or nobody like offered to teach him.
But I think it's more like Mika's more like he's more like the muscle. So obviously he's gonna be more fighting, while Orga is probably he seems to be smart. He's very technical. So
Well, yeah, but I'm saying they both came from like the same background, so I'm assuming that Orga has either had someone teach him how to read and write before he met Mika, or like you said, he just took the time out to go and learn.
Yeah.
Whereas Mika just didn't bother, or just didn't have anyone to teach him.
Yeah, and Orga appearance-wise looks a little older, but his way he's designed, he's taller, so he looks like he would be older. But yeah.
Yeah, they never really revealed their ages.
Right,
So I'm not quite sure how old each person
Yeah, I
is.
don't think so. Yeah. That they can bypass him needing to like study the manual for the Gundam because of the system they use. You just hook up to it and you use your body to move the suit.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Which
can,
helps.
Yeah, they can get away with the fact that he doesn't know how to read, but now he wants to read because he wants to help.
It was actually really funny when Kudelia like was so surprised that he was able to, use the Gundam without having, knowing how to read.
Right.
And then somebody like reminded me, like, what if he actually had to read the manual while trying to fight with it, like Amuro had when he first tried to do it? He was like literally sitting there like flipping through the book while trying to move the machine.
That's why I remember with Seed, he was getting beaten on as he was reprogramming the whole suit.
Yeah, like
at the
they
same
always
time. Like, wow, really?
read it and reprogram while they're fighting. That's like
Right.
learning how to drive through a book while you're in the car.
Learning how to drive a stick or reading a book and try not to kill anybody.
I mean,
While you're driving. But yeah.
this just proves that the only true way to pilot a Gundam is 50% testosterone, 50% instinct. The rest is all just
Right,
luck.
yeah. I mean, if you could apply the Gurren Lagann logic to it, you just use your guts.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But go back to the I guess the writing part where they're learning how to write. It was pretty nice seeing that. This episode for me was more like a slice of life episode where there wasn't a lot of action going on. It was more about character progression.
Yeah,
And Mika and Cordelia and even a little bit of Atra kind of, I guess, getting a little jealous that he's being taught to read when she could do it too. But yeah, it was just a funny little scene and all that, I guess.
Yeah,
And all the kids kind of like making fun of Mika's handwriting. I was like, this guy could strangle you in like 2 seconds. I wouldn't make fun of him.
Well, yeah, but Mika would never do that to his comrades. Like,
I know.
that's the antithesis of his entire character.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah, there's a few other minor characters I want to bring up before getting to the big character stuff that happened here. We have Ein, who is still pretty useless, I'd say. But he's being, I guess, interviewed by McGillis. He's talking about, so tell me, what'd you think about this Gundam? Because McGillis is very interested in Mika. They fought more or less to a standstill in the last episode, and now he's trying to piece together what happened, who exactly is this guy that they're up against. You have Ein, who's, so far his sole motivation is still, like, he wants to, he wants to get revenge for Crank. He even has that line where it's like, the only reason my superior died is because I was not good enough at my job. Which really says that this guy, he's not thinking, he doesn't have like a broad enough range of thought, I guess, to be, say, Orga's rival, but he's definitely, his mind is one track enough for him to be Mika's rival, because Mika also isn't thinking that much further ahead than, alright, gotta get us to Earth and gotta get Kudelia there safely.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm still waiting for him to do something. He is, again, we've already discussed lots of times in the previous episodes that he's this character you don't see doing a whole lot, but he's going to be fighting and he's not going to get killed off, and they've kind of given him a little bit of a backstory, so I don't think they're going to give him 2 shots and he's dead. He's going to be around for a while, but he wants to join the McGill's team, though. I think I heard that. He's like, hoping they would accept him to join their little force, so he can fight again.
In the very beginning of this episode, McGillis and Galileo, they were talking about heading out after Tekkadan and all those troops. But then McGillis said, no, we're not going to do that. And then they, which is interesting because Ein is begging for a chance to go pursue them, but at the same time McGillis doesn't seem to intend to do it. So I'm really wondering, like, what exactly McGillis has planned for these guys, because he's clearly not just going to let them go and complete their mission. But
or maybe he thinks, In's not ready. You're not ready to fight him. Like, he's going to get defeated, so it's like, you might want to wait, hang back a little bit. That's what
I think for McGillis, I had thought that he was pretty much better than a lot of the antagonists we've had in, like, the last couple or 3 or 4 Gundam series.
Right, a handful, yeah.
He's basically, unlike he's actually taking time to study his enemy, he's actually stopping. He's not giving chase. He's not bothering to go he knows where they're going. He knows what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
He can go and chase them anytime he wants. He has probably a more powerful ship. He can go the official ways of getting to Earth. He doesn't have to find a guide. He has all this advantage over them. He can take his time and study his enemy and figure out what's going on. And what's interesting is really he's not really a villain. He's more of an antagonist because he's not really doing anything technically villainous or wrong. He's just doing his job, really.
Well, I mean,
his job was to find out what was going on with the Mars branch of the Gundam Mars branch, and he found out basically Coral was doing some really underhanded stuff, and now he's trying to figure out, okay, I need to stop the unrest because that's basically what Gallahorn does. They stop unrest and they keep peace. So my best way of doing that is probably to use Kudelia. And for him, that's his job and that's what he should do. So it actually makes more, he's not really, like I said, a villain. He's just doing his job.
Well, Irene, this is why people like Gundam, because both sides have characters that you care about in a giant robot show. You don't want, say, McGillis to die in an explosion immediately because you're actually interested in what is this guy planning, what's his deal. You actually want to see what McGillis has in store, and it's the same with Char, it's the same with, what's his name, Ron Baral. You want to see these guys who may be on the other side, but you still want to see what they have in store for you.
Right, yeah. Well, all of them have the whole big giant space laser, I'll destroy the universe. Most of them do anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't want that with him. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing what he's up to. I do wait until the point later on where he changes from he does something a little drastic later on, but we're seeing what happens with him.
Yeah, I want to see McGillis' worldview more than anything else, because you think of the main cast, Orga, Mika, we understand their motivations and we understand their desires. We don't really get that with McGillis yet, but I feel like that's something that just has to happen with time.
Right, it's something will change later on, eventually.
He actually seems like the kind of character that you never really see the true part of him yet. He's I don't want to say this, but he actually seems like he has a mask on. It's just invisible. He's not the person that that first appears.
Right.
The person that Galio knows and is friends with is not the real, McGillis. He seems like he has this whole, I don't want to say hidden agenda, but hidden personality.
Well, he even showed that when he gave the girls the candy, when I almost ran him over, he kind of put on this other face to say, oh, I'm a nice guy. He kind of was trying to trick them. So.
Well, he could be. I mean, that could actually be his true, self. It all depends on which one is his true self, which one is.
It all depends on what happens.
The mask.
If something drastic happens to him, maybe he might change. I wouldn't say maybe Galio getting killed, but he doesn't really seem to be that attached to him. He's just kind of we're here, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I brought it up back in episode 3 or 4, whatever that episode was that when Galio was getting choked by Mika, he barely, it took him 5 minutes to get out of the car. Barely, even realized the guy was getting choked, and was oh, I guess I have to go save him now. Yeah,
and even the thing is with this week, he's injured, and he's got these bandages on, he's not really saying much to him, he's whatever.
Yeah, we're not gonna follow him, calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, another character that needs some discussion is Fumitan.
Mm-hmm,
and she is most definitely not exactly what you would call trustworthy, but she's definitely doing her job and putting her all into her job, where she's the communications officer now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe created for that.
Girls are always the communications officer.
Right, I was say Star Trek anyone?
Yeah.
But Fumitan, I agree. She's she's a little sneaky. I'm not sure what she's doing. Because even we discussed a long time ago, episode I think 2 or 3, when they were attacked, she was conveniently missing during the battle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was and then she walks up afterwards oh, Princess, I found you. I think you're up to something else.
What I think is going on with this character is we have another scene later in the somewhere in the middle of the episode where Nobliss, the guy who is backing up Kudelia, who was also he was working with Coral, and Coral is dead, or at least Nobliss confirms he is dead. So, but Nobliss seems to be having a telephone call with somebody. I assume that somebody is Fumitan, so I think Fumitan is actually going to be working for this Nobliss guy. And Nobliss is kind of like the character who's playing both sides. All he wants to do is get the money, and he seems to be pretty damn rich too. So I assume Fumitan is sticking close to Kudelia, but on this Nobliss's guy's command.
Right, yeah. I mean, she's doing something. I mean, they haven't really said anything about her yet. I mean, she's been kind of a quiet character. But usually quiet characters are the ones you gotta watch out for. So that's the way I'd look at it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some things in regards to her, but I'm not sure if they're true or not yet. We'll see in like future episodes, but let's just say that she like is not who she says she is, or like that's at least what I'm hearing. But we'll see like later if that actually comes to fruition or not. I definitely don't trust her. She's
probably
like
some like space ninja or something that is there as a bodyguard, but can double as an assassin. I would say.
It was what I heard was like connected to something that actually happened or said in episode 7. But when we get to that, I'll probably mention it again.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Just kind of.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm interested to what happens with her.
Yeah. The last major point we have to talk about with this episode is Orga and what Tekadan is gonna do going forward. So Tekadan, they don't Orgus, the Space New Jersey Mafia guy, they can no longer count on him to get them to Earth. So Tekadan has to start looking for a new guy that can bring them there, and they need someone reputable. These are Orga's words. They need someone reputable. They need someone powerful enough to keep Gjallarhorn off their back, and they need someone trustworthy so they can leave the people back on Mars in their hands. So the group that Orga has in mind is a space mafia called Tewaz, and they seem to be based on Jupiter. So Orga's plan is they're going to go head off to Jupiter and try to... Huh?
Well, I was just commenting like that was dumb.
Why is it dumb?
We were actually discussing this on a forum. We're like, okay, so you are literally going to take their trip was basically to go to Earth to take Kudelia to Earth, and she has to get there for what they mentioned earlier, like in the same episode that she has to go to meet this meeting with the president of Arborough, I think, who's like this really really old guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm guessing that the meeting was scheduled for some time or other. And they said that basically it takes them 5 months to get to Earth from Mars, and that was like if they just took the normal way, like not without any side traps or anything like that. He's going to literally detour to Jupiter. That's more than 8 times distance away compared to the distance between Mars and Earth.
And they get there in one episode.
Yeah, and then he has to somehow get all the way to Jupiter, get a guide, then come all the way back to Earth. If you go by the same time frame of the fact that it takes 5 months to get to Mars to Earth, it would literally take years for him to just get from Mars to Jupiter and then go backwards again back to Earth again.
Well, it's a good thing it doesn't turn out that way, isn't it, Irene?
Yes, it is great. They dug themselves out of that hole.
Right. Yeah,
but I'm more interested in this for its thematic and character building parts than its hard sci-fi get up all in your. This is how long it takes to get this distance. That doesn't matter.
It's important.
No, it's not. It's not because the time in show and time in real time are not the same thing, and we don't care about that. Anyway.
Hey, their own time.
Well, I was gonna say again, Gundam usually does that. He mix a bunch of things in there. Some real science and not so real science. This is how they roll.
Yeah, I was just going by the time they had the show. They were like, it takes 5 months to get from here to there, so...
They'll make it work.
We're on episode 7. We got plenty of time, guys.
Cool.
We'll make it work. Anyway, before we go though, we have how this all relates to Orga's character is very interesting because if I had to sum up like a big part of what makes the character writing interesting in the show, it's a lot about complexes. It's a show about complexes. For instance, Kudelia, she has somewhat of a martyr complex. She is all about, I need to do this for the people of Mars. I need to work hard for the people of Mars. She has a martyr complex. And Mika's character role in this is he is all about refuting her martyr complex. Whenever Kudelia is getting all about, I have to sacrifice myself, I have to be the one to do this for the sake of the Martian people, Mika's character is there to say, hold on, we didn't ask you to martyr yourself for us. Orga's complex is a bit different. I'm tempted to define it almost as an inferiority complex because he has this really great scene where he's talking to Biscuit about how he views Mika. And I know I've talked about this before because it's a really well-defined character dynamic. I don't want to say Orga is afraid of Mika, but I think he's intimidated by him. Orga sees Mika as someone who has high expectations of him. And I'm not sure if Orga can really handle those expectations. He's like, those eyes, they're always asking me to show me. Orga's thinking about Mika as if Mika was saying, when are you going to show me something cool? When are you going to show me something awesome? I believe in you, Orga. I don't think Orga can handle that pressure. To everyone else, he's a great leader. And he still is a great leader to Mika. But how he internally sees their relationship, it's dangerous. Like, Orga sees himself as he has to continuously take the dangerous route. Like, talking to Teoaz without a middleman, without someone to introduce them, that's a dangerous idea. Why is Orga so determined to head off to Jupiter, even though they might? Why is Orga so determined to head off to Jupiter to talk to a giant space mafia organization when they don't even have someone to guarantee that it'll work out? It's not just because this is the only way. It's also because of his complex towards Mika. Because to Orga, if he isn't able to correctly lead Mika on, to him, that's seen as failure. And just like with Kudelia and Mika, where Mika tells her, we didn't ask you to martyr yourself. But it's different because Mika isn't going to say to Orga, I didn't ask you to lead me like this. Because Mika is. Mika has complete undying faith in Orga. He lets Orga make all the decisions. Like when they have that strategy meeting, Mika's like, it's troublesome and I don't really get all of it. I'm just leaving it to Orga. It's fascinating because of how their relationship is so unhealthy, where Mika's faith and Orga's insecurity, they combine to make it where, as they are now, they're both incredibly strong and they complement each other. But it's also very fragile because if either party abandons the other, what do they really have? And I think this is fascinating.
Their dynamic is probably my favorite part of the entire series. Is between Orga and Mika, and I liked how this episode really went into Orga's character because we knew Mika was pretty much dependent on Orga since probably episode 1. We now get to see that Orga is pretty much just as dependent on Mika.
I think even more so.
Yeah, he's basically. It's not. He does think through his decisions, and he does. He did, like he said, go through all the options, and there was that. Going to Taylor was the only option available to him. And Tekadon, he's basically invested everything into this company. This is his life, is to basically keep this company alive so that his, the men underneath him can have a place called home.
But when
they have nothing other than this company.
The why,
a couple others.
The why is he doing this? And I think the why is, it all turns out, he's doing it for Mika. I
think some of it, of course, does have to do with Mika, because they do mention, Mika's future aspirations about how he wants to become a farmer and have his own farm, and that was kind of alluded to, back when he was on the farm with, Vince's grandmother, and how he just enjoyed being out there in the fields and everything. and he wants to have like this, world, not for Mika and for the rest of the men of Tekkadan. And somebody brought up that they basically have a codependence on each other. It's that Orga can't really exist without Mika, and Mika can't really exist without Orga.
Right.
And right now it works because they're always together. But if anything would ever happen to one of them,
I think it's separated. Yeah.
something would I don't know if either one of them would survive. And I think that becomes really not really clear, but you can really see the dynamic even more like in episode 7 as well.
Right. I mean, again, it comes back to Simone and Kamina. Their relationship, the same thing, most where they both kind of rely on each other a lot. So, and yeah, so that's all. Me, episode 6, yeah, there's a lot of good things in there. But I want to jump to episode 7. Being kind of winded here on the episodes.
Yeah, what's with all this heavy like character building stuff? Let's talk about mecha fights.
Well, no, we have to talk about like what happens to lead into the next episode. So basically, at the end of episode 6, the guy who used to be their ex-boss just pops up out of nowhere, and he's alive.
Well, no.
Yeah, he's screaming the entire time. Give back my ship. That's who. That's
well,
the whole thing, the whole episode.
Well, no, at the end of the episode where it was them versus Gjallarhorn, you saw him in a ship talking about like, no, my ship, no, what's happening to my ship? So it's not like he just vanished. Well, he did vanish, but they showed him back in episode 5 as well.
Oh no, that was still episode 6.
That was also? Oh, that was like the very beginning of episode 6, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like it was kind of funny because I didn't really realize that was him because I thought he died like episodes ago. Because the way the first group was talking, they were like, "Oh, the boss is dead. The boss is gone." And I was like, "Well, I thought he was dead. Where did he come from? How did he pop up again?"
Magic. He just survives.
Yeah,
Somehow survived.
the assholes in the show have a way of sticking around.
Oh, yeah.
Which pisses me off. I'm like, wait a minute. 40-something kids died, but you lived.
Whatever.
That's the Gundam way to me. All the bad characters don't like her. They're the ones going to survive.
He needs to stay around because he's a comically goofy villain.
You can go join Derp Hitler.
You wish. If only it was that simple.
Okay,
Anyway,
episode 7.
episode 7. So, coincidentally, it looks like they don't have to go all the way to Jupiter to find the Tewaz group. Because a bunch of guys, Naze Turbine is his name. They're basically a underling space mafia group, and they just happen to be heading right after they're heading straight for Tekkadan to get their ship and all that stuff because Maruba basically begged them to get revenge on all the brats.
Yeah, I would have to say, first of all, he's, classy white suit. Look like Michael Jackson over there. I was like, wow. It's,
Actually, he looks exactly like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. His white suit and everything. But yeah, he's pretty interesting character. But yeah, no, your first note here about the new Pilots Sea fight, Tekkadan this week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this week I think this week's mecha fights was the best of the show so far.
Right.
Because, I mean, when you saw, when we had our fight of, when we had our Gjallarhorn versus Tekkadan. Why can't I say these names? This is driving me crazy. Anyway, when we had, ouch. Anyway, when we had Gjallarhorn versus Tekkadan last episode, the fights were pretty great, but I think these fights are even better. And I think part of the reason why is just like, oh, we are only doing fights when we can make them work so far, because there's only been like 4 fights. There's been 3 fights really in the show so far. There's been Mika versus Crank, there's been Gjallarhorn versus Tekkadan, and then there's Tekkadan versus the Turbines.
Right. Well, I was gonna say this week gave Mika kind of he had a little more struggle because one of the girls that fights him fought a little differently than he's used to. She was definitely more aggressive than the other guy he fought. As far as like grappling onto his neck and then dragging him through these meteors and stuff or minefield. It was just funny watching how she fought Mika and how he had to kind of adapt to a new fighting style because she was kind of not fighting like he used to. It's the big floating tank just shooting at him, so he had to kind of like change the way he fights.
it was interesting because, like, during their fight, and this episode is called Wailing because that's essentially what Mika does. He tries to
Right.
wail her.
Mhm.
And I thought
Pretty
it was
much.
interesting just because, like, she barely even had when Mika was chasing her down, he didn't even whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, when Mika was trying to chase her down, it was interesting just because she didn't even bother like having arms. She was just solely using those. Yeah. Why
Tank
can't I-
cannons, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just cannons, which was really interesting.
right, yeah. And even had the other guy, I forgot his name. He fought, two of them at once, which is pretty impressive.
Akihiro.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because Mika like trusted him enough to like, okay, you take these two on, I got this third one.
Yeah.
So plus she was gonna go after the ship. That was her main goal. And yeah, she kind of fought, I would say, a little dirty. This is how I guess she's one of those characters that is really, really into fighting. That's like her thing. So
yeah,
I guess it's interesting seeing the different fighting styles between each different character they showed this on episode 7 anyway.
Yeah. I think it's clear that at the end of episode 7 that there's going to be some kind of alliance between the groups.
Yeah, definitely.
And like the previous shows, like they're like hanging out, and apparently there's a baby on the ship or whatever.
Mhm.
So, the Turbines versus Tekkadan is definitely a visually impressive mecha fight. And
right.
And what's also
that and his whole team seems to be just him and a bunch of girls. That seems to be the team that he's running with.
that's kind of funny, where it's basically just this guy, a bunch of chicks, and he's also dragging around Maruba.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that's interesting is they talk later in the episode. They're talking about how these guys, they all have the. Well, let's not go too far ahead. So at the beginning of the episode, Naze, he calls up Orga. They're trying to. It's basically a negotiation, but it's more like a shakedown, you could say, where he's saying, all right, if you guys agree to work for us and give us all your loot, we won't beat you up and we'll allow you to work for us. Where it's just like, oh, how generous. And then in response, Orga's like, no, if you want our shit, you have to take it from us by force. Biscuit's all like, come on, this guy's our in with the Teiwaz group. Let's do it. But it's like, if you had to submit to them, if you had to say, all right, we agree to be your slave. We agree for you to be our boss. Here, take all our shit. We surrender. Like, that wouldn't get you anywhere. You can't just give in to the guys bullying you. You gotta fight them back, mecha. And that's exactly.
Teiwaz kind of like looks at them as just children. He doesn't see them as adults at all.
Yeah, they keep calling them brats.
Comment later that we'll show you why we're not children.
Yeah, they keep calling them brats. It's like, man, we gotta go spank these brats or whatever. It's like, and that's.
It's just like, come at me. Yeah.
I really like that scene because it really played very well between Biscuit, Orga, and Mika. And like Orga, once they like went into the background of Orga's character last episode, they now are starting to show you how he's actually starting to look towards Mika whenever he's around, and like he's waiting for a visual cue from Mika to help him make his decision. Because Orga was actually, from what I was looking at, he was pretty actually indecisive about it. Because I mean, first off, he doesn't want to lose Tekkadan at all. That's the thing that's keeping him and all his men alive. But he also knows that he doesn't want to cross Teiwaz because he needs them to help guide them. But also at the same time, they just ended a fight with Galahorn. They've barely gotten everything together to go and do another fight. So he's in this indecision between the two, and he's got Biscuit who's saying, watch it, see if you can negotiate and stuff.
And then Mika also has the line where it says, I don't want everyone to be split up, and it's immediately after that Orga says, all right, let's fight them.
Yeah, because basically Mika is his deciding factor. He's the one who tips the scale. And not Mika, but Orga actually mentioned earlier, I want to say episode 2, that if Mika was against the plan, then he would have to cancel it. So if Mika is against something, then he's going to go and do whatever he can to go against, that decides it basically. No more negotiation.
He'll go with Mika's reaction versus what he thinks. And
That was
Biscuit,
funny.
I feel bad for Biscuit. Like, I don't know if they're ever gonna get the chance to negotiate the way with Orga, his mentality of, fight, fight, fight.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Biscuit was actually, his idea was good, but it wasn't good for this situation.
Right, it doesn't work right.
Like, Biscuit's mentality is actually slightly different from all the other people in Tekiden.
Mhm.
He still has a family. He
Right,
has a home separate from Tekiden.
Yeah, that's
So
why he wants to go for talking
Yeah,
instead.
he can think about doing the safe route. He can think about, negotiating or even surrendering if need be.
Uh-huh.
They can't think that way, and so their dynamic is slightly different. But I do like also how he noticed immediately when Mika said something that he knew that Orga was going to decide for
Right.
what Mika was going to. He tried to cut him off, but
Yeah,
it didn't.
for me it was like, whenever Mickey eats a raisin, I gotta do what he says.
It's not a raisin.
That's the visual cue. You're like, okay, he said yes.
They're dates, which is actually pretty weird. How do you put dates in your pocket? Those things are so sticky.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was cool kind of seeing that those three kind of. But for me, I was like Biscuit. I'm like, wonder when his negotiation power will come in later.
Mhm.
I know a little bit later maybe they have to have some kind of. Well, he has to maybe distract the enemy while they set something up. Keep him talking, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, basically Orga decided we have to do, harsh negotiations, basically
Right.
dirty negotiations, because they're not going to, pay attention to us unless we prove ourselves.
Basically, Orga, I guess, their plan just to attack,
Yeah.
just to prove the point that they're not children, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can talk about the fight itself, maybe.
Oh, totally, because this fight was pretty awesome, I would say.
Yeah. Like I said before, it was cool just seeing that, Mika kind of trusted the other guy to fight two by himself,
Mm-hmm.
while he fought one by himself, because she was, like, gonna go gunning for the ship, and she didn't care about anything else. That's all she wanted.
Well,
And-
let's actually
yeah.
set the scene a bit, because otherwise I think this is going to be a bit incomprehensible. So, you have the two ships, they're basically heading right for each other.
Playing
Excuse me.
a little chicken.
Yeah, playing a game of Mecha Chicken.
Right.
I think their ship is called the Hammerhead, unless I'm incorrect.
Right, yeah, because it's got this distinct hammerhead look to it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, enemy ship, yeah.
the turbines, they send out 3 lady pilots. Oh, yeah. And
Oh,
against them, you have Mika and Akihiro. One very interesting thing is that, whatchamacallit, I believe what they did is they send out 2 girls from the ship itself. And what I assume is that a third party was like hanging out, getting ready to basically ambush the ship.
Yeah, that Lofter, she was out there waiting in the big tank looking thing. She was waiting outside. Because they showed her, like, in the beginning, kind of floating, 0G painting her nails. And she was basically setting it up for this ambush, I guess, to get them.
Yeah, that's how you have a female character just hanging out in a mech doing what she wants and not make it lame. Heavy object.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that, you can easily say that these three, they only showed 2 of them, but the third one's kind of a quiet girl, but yeah, they're very interesting. We'll see how they act the other people later on, but
yeah. Anyway, so we have a pretty awesome mecha fight. It quickly turns into a one-on-one with Mika versus that other girl, what's her face, while Akihiro has to fend the 2 off. And ultimately, the way that they settle the fight is not by Mika or by Akihiro. Rather, the guys in Tekiden, they basically not ram their ship, but they almost ram their ship into the Hammerhead. And they use that as a jumping off point so Orga and a bunch of other guys can break into the ship and take it over.
yeah. The part was a little weird because we didn't actually see it happen, but we're to assume that it happened.
Well, yeah,
They
well,
got on board the ship, so, like, all right, there you go. They got in.
I mean, at the very beginning of the battle, Orga was all like, Eugene, take over. So I
Yeah.
assumed at the very beginning, like, well, Orga's not just gonna ditch on everybody and let them fend for themselves. He's gonna
course
find
not.
something for him to do. And it turns out that something is, okay, I'm gonna go sneak onto their ship so we can have a more even-handed negotiation, if you know what I mean.
Face to face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. And like, yeah, they have to stop because obviously a hostage situation. So they have to stop and kind of go back to the ship and talk things out.
Yeah.
Which I think you brought it back at the beginning that these two teams would probably be allies for a bit.
Well, they definitely seem to have a common goal, or
But
not common goal, but they definitely are heading towards the same. They have interest. Yeah, they have combined interests because Orga, he wants to go get to the Tewaz group. How do you get to the Tewaz group? Through the Turbines, who are an underling of the Tewaz group. What does the Tewaz group want? Or what does the Turbine group want? They want all their shit, and if they work for them, they can get a good deal out of it.
right, yeah, they're gonna work together to achieve that.
And whatchamacallit? Yeah, aside from all the great mecha fighting, whatchamacallit? There's a bit of character moments with Kudelia and with Atra, and they're very adorable together, I think.
Yeah, it's fun watching them together, how they kind of interact, even though they're setting it off like they're rivals of because it's love interests. But there's a new girl this week that might be, putting in all that because of how she fights, and she's a character that likes fighting, so she obviously go after someone that's strong and likes to fight. So
Let's wait till they have a conversation outside the robots to make any romance calls.
Yeah, we'll wait for that, but maybe talking to their fists is what they consider shipping, I guess, for those two characters.
Again,
I've seen some people's comments about that.
Let's actually see them outside their robots talking, and then we can talk about romance.
Right, so I'm just seeing, Atra and the other girls kind of like butting heads together. With there being so many females now, it's like
I think
there's a lot of chances for some interesting interactions.
I think you're overstating it as butting heads, because I would not call the interactions between Atra and Kudelia butting heads at all.
No, not those two. I mean the other girls that just showed up.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Right, because they're obviously going to have to meet each other eventually out of their suits, so it's like you're actually going to see them kind of doing the whole anime thing. Oh, messing around with each other.
Yeah.
You're after so-and-so, and that whole thing.
This is Mario Kata, and she likes her melodrama, but I don't think she's that kind of anime writer.
Yeah, we'll see how they deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Atra being this, kind of comes off as the Moe character of the series. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to turn out like that, just because, again, I'm putting a lot of faith into the writer herself. The romances I've seen of hers, they're not like that level of anime writing. They're a little bit better than the normal stuff.
Yeah, just saying. You never know. But,
you never know, but I like to hope for quality writing in my shows.
Well, she also has plenty of failures, so just like throw it out there.
Yeah, she's hit or miss, I guess.
Right.
Do we have anything else we want to say about Gundam?
Looking at the bottom here, there's a few things. Yeah, it was an episode, there's not really much to talk about at the end. I mean, obviously we'll get this new alliance, so we're going to see how that goes. Mm-hmm. If they can keep it going or have a falling out. Obviously later on the part will.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see just how exactly these characters interact when they're not trying to kill each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in seeing there.
Because they definitely, they didn't get off to the best start, but they also, the whole reason why Orgo was so adamant on actually fighting them was so, okay, let's not be thrown around by these guys. Let's stand on even field. Let's be equals. Because after all, negotiations aren't negotiations if some group is unilaterally telling you, hey, you now work for us. Get used to it.